Hello everybody, today's November 1st, 2011. Yesterday we had news of JP Morgan being accepted as the 8th member of the Shanghai Gold Exchange, which is kind of interesting. We know how JP Morgan likes to control the silver market, which is sold on the Shanghai Metals Exchange. And then today we got an article out of China Daily about Parabolic silver investment. I guess the Chinese are buying a lot of paper silver. One bank in 6 months sold 300 tons of silver. So they're selling a lot of future contracts and adding to the global paper silver market that, you know, at some point it's going to go bust, because there's anywhere from like 1 in 100 or 1 in 1,000 physical ounces to paper ounces that are traded around the world. On any given day, there's up to 1 billion ounces of silver traded in paper. You know, there's only around 900 million mined in an entire year. So we'll have to see what happens. I'll put a link to the China Daily article below. They're saying that the demand has surged like 750% in a year, and this September versus last September was like 6 times the amount of demand. So they're gobbling up the paper shares over there, and they're buying the physical also, but this is just exacerbate what's going on with the physical versus the paper market. You know, the extreme disconnect between the two markets. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens with that. So I'll put the article below. But one other bit of information I looked at was, I was looking at the GDP in China, and I'm seeing that the 454,000 yuan was the GDP back in 1980, 81, somewhere around there. And then you move forward to now, it's 40 trillion. So we're talking about 80 times the economy that now than the economy that China had back in the last precious metals bull market, when the last one ended. So, you know, I was talking in a recent video about their participation in India's. Well, they're participating a lot more this time around. And this time around we have this huge paper market versus the physical market. So, you know, I just would want to be a holder of some physical silver or precious metals at this point. I know I've said this before, and I'll say it, I've heard Eric Sprott say it like 3-4 times as he gets interviewed, but you don't have the same amount of dollars going into 2 different precious metals that has like a 50-to-1 price difference, and just have it stay that way from a, you know, supply and demand perspective. It's not going to stay that way. So I also wanted to mention that JP Morgan is my cousin. I found out recently as I was working on my family tree. I have a family tree on Ancestry.com, and a couple of years ago, if you requested to have your tree connected to other trees, you know, mine goes back to the 1500s. Some lines, one line goes back as far as the 1300s, because at some point you're going to connect with someone else who's worked on their tree, you know, way back. So you have a common ancestor. So I've linked to these other trees, and so, you know, my research I didn't do the research back that far. But anyway, I was looking at the people that I'm related to, like Marlon Brando and Teddy Roosevelt, and then I came across JP Morgan, and then I looked and, okay, how am I related to him? And I don't remember the person's name, but his 6th great-grandmother, you know, is actually my 9th great-grandmother. So that's kind of interesting. Thought I'd throw that out there. I was just kind of set back a little bit when I was thinking about everything that I do nowadays and all the research that I do, and here JP Morgan turns out to have been my cousin. So anyway, that's it, and talk to you all soon.